The following video is for entertainment purposes only, and maybe some travel information. The paranormal can be neither proven nor disproven, and as such, take everything I say and do with a grain of salt. The purpose of this channel is, and always has been, to inspire people to go ghost hunting and experience it for themselves. Now sit back and enjoy the video, traveler. Crown City, Ohio, 1952. Luther Lou Suthers glanced out his window to look at the church that was next door to his own home in Crown City. Luther gazed upon a house right near the church, right next door, single story, with a shrub in front of it. Luther closed his eyes and opened them, and then he closed one eye and then he closed the other, because there was an issue with that house that had the shrub in front of it. It had not existed the day before, the month before, the year before, or frankly, ever. There had been no house on that plot of land in Crown City. As Luther approached the house, it disappeared. Today, join me, traveler, as we take our first road trip to elsewhere. Greetings, travelers! Once again it is I, the Reverend Victor S. Johnson, and I've been places you've only read about. And this, as always, is my co-host and producer, Dudley, and we're trying something new on the channel today. A new series we call Road Trips to Elsewhere. But first, please remember to like and subscribe. Now for our first ever excursion into a glitch in the Matrix story, Dudley and I set sail for that mystical place known as Ohio. In my opinion, Crown City isn't actually a city, traveler. It's more like a neighborhood without fences. I didn't notice a post office when I drove through, although I'm sure there is one, as Crown City is still on the map. There is a church in Crown City. There are two, as a matter of fact, but more on that later. There's a Dollar General right outside of town for groceries, and a Marathon service station up the road for refueling. That's it. That's the entirety of this peculiar plot of land situated on the edge of the Ohio River. According to Wikipedia, the town is over 140 years old and has never had a population greater than 513 people. That's according to census records. So what was I doing here? A neighborhood of 400 people or so, the week of Thanksgiving in 2024. Well, traveler, I was looking for a house that I had no intention of finding. Luther Suthers was born in Gallia County, Ohio in 1864. It should be noted that Crown City lies within the boundaries of Gallia County, so Lou, with an E, as is reported on his Find a Grave website, seems to have been a lifer of Crown City, living into 1960. His father Jim died in the Civil War in 1865, serving in Company E of the 173rd Regiment. Lou had 5 children, 1 out of wedlock, and otherwise lived an uneventful but fulfilling life along the Ohio River. That was until 1952, when Lou looked out of the window of his home towards the Crown City Methodist Church some 300 yards away. His view was blocked by that of a small, one-story house without doors or windows, with a large green shrub in front of it. The house had not been there before, and it would disappear before his eyes as Lou went to approach it. Now, I promise, traveler, that I did not make a special trip to Crown City. Not initially. I was actually on my way to see some stuff in West Virginia, specifically the east side, Braxton County, to see the Flatwoods Monster Museum, otherwise known as Braxy, right outside of Flatwoods, West Virginia. I also decided to drive across the state to check out Point Pleasant and the Mothman Museum, in addition to the Mothman statue. While I was in Point Pleasant, I was able to see the memorial to the Silver Bridge collapse, a bridge that fell into the Ohio River in 1967, formerly linking Ohio with West Virginia. The bridge collapse was somewhat blamed on the Mothman, and there was also Men in Black activity within the town around that time. I absolutely recommend both museums. The Flatwoods Monster Museum is free and also serves as the Braxton County Tourist Guide Center or Information Center. I cannot remember, but they have some incredible things at the gift shop. It's not much to get into the Mothman Museum either, and they also have some amazing things. I recommend it for everyone when you get to almost heaven. That said, while I was looking out over the Ohio River, I remembered something from my handy copy of Dennis William Hauck's The National Directory of Haunted Places. I was 27 minutes north of Crown City, Ohio, and I remembered the little blurb he put into the book. Let's read it now. On a wide lawn next to the church, several witnesses saw a house materialize in the summer of 1953. Sometimes, the single-story phantom building had a 10-foot bush in front of it. As witnesses approached it, the ghostly structure disappeared. Research revealed that a house had never stood on that spot. So with that, I thought that Lou Suthers first saw the house in 1952. Well, there were sightings in 1953 by 2 other men with a completely different phantom house. Lou reported the first house, which was a single-story house with no viewable entry point behind a shrub, for several weeks in 1952. I could find no reports of Lou speaking on the house beyond that year. A building appeared, however, in 1953, still by the church, still in the lot, however it was in a different location. Instead of being between Lou Suthers' house and the church, it was behind the church. And it was seen by 2 completely different men, and was an entirely different building. This is the abridged story of the house that Perry Clayton Gatewood and James Garfield Watts found. According to Spooky Stories of Gallia County, the 2 men exited the church on a Wednesday after a service. They saw a 2-story building at the back of the church lot, with windows this time. There were 2 large windows on the bottom floor and 2 small windows on the second floor, and those windows emitted a warm orange light. As the 2 men approached the building, it disappeared out of existence. The term drifted is used, so maybe the house blew away in the wind. An investigation and hysteria ensued, including a reporter from the now-defunct Gallia Times newspaper trying to find any previous accounts of a wormhole or some disruption in the space-time continuum localized in Crown City, Ohio. That is, once again, according to Spooky Stories of Gallia County. Logical explanations were offered, such as the Fata Morgana theory that the house reflected off of the Ohio River from West Virginia. Another logical explanation offered was that all three men involved, Suthers, Gatewood, and Watts, were elderly, and thus their eyes were possibly playing tricks on them, or they had some other health condition of which you and I may not be aware. This absolutely must be taken into account, traveler. Lou Suthers was 88 years old when he saw the small house in 1952 and lived until 1960, dying at age 96. P.C. Gatewood was 73 in 1953 and died in 1968 at age 88. I couldn't find a Garfield Watts who ever lived in Crown City, but I did find a James Garfield Watts who did. Mr. Watts would have been 71 in 1953 when he also saw the two-story building. Though many have looked for these buildings after these three men saw them, Watts, Suthers, and Gatewood remain the only three people to ever see the mysterious structures. Even still, traveler, there's more to these men than just these houses. But let's talk about my excursion to Crown City. After Dudley and I took photos with the Mothman statue in Point Pleasant, Dudley's being far better than my photo was, we hopped in the car and went over the Ohio River towards Crown City. We didn't have much to go on. You heard the blurb from Dennis William Hauck earlier. That is not a lot. As I said, there are two churches. There is a church right in the heart of the neighborhood, which according to Google, I believe was formerly the Methodist Church and is now the community church. The other church was outside of town. That's the Wesleyan Church, and did not identify as Methodist. Not that I could see. So, back into town we went. I pulled into the Crown City Community Church parking lot, and I got my gear out to do a little 20-minute ghost hunt. I had a look around the neighborhood. I tried to make sure no one was weirded out by me, but that is usually the case, and I began my little experiments. Here are my results, unedited. Is there anyone here with us right now? Please feel free to come through the white noise. I have some questions from another dimension. Is there anyone here with me in the churchyard at this moment in time? Please speak through the white noise if you can. Is anyone here with me right now? Please speak through the white noise. Anyone at all? Is anyone here with me? Is there anyone here with me at this time? Please speak through the white noise. It's okay. My name is Victor. Are you from this time and space? Are you from another one? Is there anyone here with me at this time? Please speak through the white noise. Anyone at all? Please note, traveler, children are playing at their homes. Just that kid screaming is normal. Okay, I'm going to try one more thing. Is there anyone here with me at this time? Please cross the dowsing rods if yes. Leave them uncrossed if no. Okay. Thank you. And I hope we solve this someday. Nothing out of place, traveler. It is perfectly normal. So, rather than have another Binion's Hotel, I didn't know what to do with this footage. That was until I started doing deeper research on Crown City, and more relevant to the story, the 3 people involved and how they affected Crown City itself. Now, I did find a few patterns never touched on, at least to my knowledge, traveler. All 3 of them, Suthers, Gatewood, and Watts, were born in Gallia County, and all of them died in Gallia County. Suthers was born in the town of Gallia. I couldn't find that in Ohio. It was on his Find a Grave page, so I assume they meant Gallipolis, just up the road from Crown City. He died in Crown City and is buried in a graveyard there. Gatewood and Watts were both born in Crown City and died in Gallipolis. Gallipolis is directly across from Point Pleasant on the other side of the Ohio River, if you need more supernatural conspiracy theories, of course. In addition, Gatewood was the mayor of Crown City for 3 terms, funny enough. That's again according to his Find a Grave page. Even his obituary points out that Gatewood was a monster by all standards of humanity. He killed a man in an argument in 1924 and was convicted of manslaughter, but he was let go because he had a family to provide for. Speaking of that family, P.C. Gatewood's first wife was Emma Gatewood, her maiden name Caldwell. P.C. often beat Emma and threatened to commit her to a mental institution, which was a common occurrence in the early 20th century. Emma filed for divorce, which was granted in the early 40s, which was not typical during that period. Then again, nothing about Emma Gatewood could be considered typical. After reading an issue of National Geographic, Emma decided to hike the entirety of the Appalachian Trail in 1954. She didn't get far after running out of food and breaking her glasses, but she made it home thanks to some friendly park rangers. In 1955, Emma tried again and hiked the entirety of the trail alone. Emma Caldwell is the first solo female hiker to finish the entirety of the Appalachian Trail. She would hike the trail again and again, being the first person to hike it solo 3 times. Mind you, I've been on a portion of this trail. I made it about 10 miles, and she also hiked 2,000 miles of the Oregon Trail. It should be noted that Grandma Gatewood was also born in Gallia County and died in Gallipolis. As she should be, she is revered as a hero, not only in the state of Ohio, but also in the United States. Finally, Braxy, the Flatwoods Monster, was seen in September of 1952, just a few months after Lou Suthers first saw the single-story Phantom House. How's that for synchronicity? Traveler, I wanted to end on something I found on that Visit Gallia website. I'm going to quote this in full because I can't do it justice with my own words. Quote, "There was one other possible explanation, and very few in Crown City then would have thought of it. At the turn of the century, the minister at the Methodist Church in Crown City was preaching a sermon that quoted a text about a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. The minister quoted the verse, smiled, and then collapsed over the pulpit. Members rushed to his aid, but he was dead from a massive heart attack. No one knows, of course, but some suspected that the minister, some 50 years before, had been the first one to see the house." And with that, Dudley and I take our leave of Crown City, Ohio. We hope you enjoyed this one, traveler. I had a lot of fun doing it, and as I come across more Glitch in the Matrix stories, I want to explore them. As for now, as always, we must be moving on. So once again, I am the Reverend Victor S. Johnson, and I've been places you've only read about. This as always is Dudley. Safe travels, traveler.